Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Hello and welcome back to a new episode of The Arrow. And as I'm saying every time, please like, share, and subscribe our channel. And we are trying very hard to build an ecosystem here where we can give you information and knowledge directly from the experts. So help us grow and help us grow very fast, please. And today we have a guest. He is a very prominent person, and to give a short introduction about him, which only I can say, rest we will know about him, is that Mr. Arjun Vaidya. He is an ex-CEO at Dr. Vaidya's, and he is the founder of D2C and angel investor. He is Forbes Asia 30s under 30. He is also a podcast host, and in business world, his name is under 40 under 40. So welcome to our podcast, Mr. Arjun. And
Thank you for having me.
As I was saying, we are very happy that you agreed to come to our podcast. So please tell us about your initial years and how was your study and how you came to become Dr. Vaidya.
Sure. I'm happy to do that. Yeah, so Vaidya, my last name means Ayurvedic doctor. I come from a legacy of 150 years of Ayurveda in my family. My grandfather, great-grandfather, and generations before were all Ayurvedic doctors. And yeah, so I grew up with Ayurveda. I personally suffered from juvenile bronchitis, asthma growing up. And my grandfather cured me. So I grew up a believer in Ayurveda. I went to the US for my undergrad. I saw yoga being repackaged, yoga mats, yoga gyms, Lululemon. And I thought to myself, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry in the US, but India doesn't really have anything to do with it. Indian companies haven't taken it to the world. So I came back to India with that thought process in my mind. I did my first job in private equity, but my dada passed in this time period. And I made him a promise I'd do something with the legacy. So yeah, I quit my job. I took on his legacy. I took on his formulation. And I made a brand out of it. And that's how Dr. Vaidya's really came to life.
Yeah, it was amazing because I was listening to your TED talk, which you gave us a while back, and in that you have told that story in quite detail. I just want to know that what made you start a company and just not use it and then move on with your life? Why did you indulge more in Ayurveda and actually start a company? What clicked you?
Yeah, well, one, it's family legacy. Two, it had a deep impact in my life because I was cured of asthma. And three, I think I'm very patriotic, right? I wear this band of India on my hand. I came straight back from college to India. And I think that Ayurveda is something that's traditional Indian and needs to be sort of taken to the world and made appealing and accessible to 21st century. So I think all of these things put together got me interested to say, hey, we have this rich legacy of 5,000 years. We have 150 years of my family's legacy, and something needs to be done with it to take it forward.
Good to hear from you that you studied in US and you came back to India to serve the people and continue our Indian legacy and basically the Ayurveda, because most of the time we study and we try to go abroad on the dollars, and sometimes people settles also there. So it's quite motivating for us to hear that someone from the studied in US and come back. So now I'll just directly go to the Ayurveda. So first I would like to understand what is the Ayurveda based on? What is the science, or it is a pseudoscience? And is Ayurveda an ancient science, or it is the way we have all the basically nutrition in our flora? How it is?
Yeah, so Ayurveda comes from the Sanskrit words Ayu and Veda, and loosely translates to the science of life. Ayurveda has references in our scriptures from thousands of years now, but basically uses herbs and minerals available in India's nature's bounty to create treatments and formulations for ailments. It is ancient. It's been around for at least more than 2,000 years. Some people say 2,000, some people say 5,000. It's been around for a really long time. I think the other thing is it's stood the test of time, right? So Chyawanprash is still used, was used 2,000 years ago and is still used, right? So it's been in existence for a really long time and it's not gone away, which is also sort of really important to keep in mind and to note, right? So for me, Ayurveda is those herbs and minerals available in nature's bounty that have been used for a very long time, but have huge impact even today. And if you see what's happened with COVID, I mean, the Indian government as well is coming out and saying, have ashwagandha, have gill oil, have chawanprash, have amla, have kadha. So it has as much relevance today as it has had for a very long time.
Okay, great. But I see there are some diseases like diabetic, blood pressure, hypertension, and we can keep counting. And for those diseases, we don't have any proper treatment in the allopathy. How Ayurveda treat these chronic diseases?
Sure. So asthma is one example and my example, right? In chronic ailments, allopathy treats the ailments from the symptom, which means it quells down the symptom. Ayurveda looks at root cause of ailment, right? So it's a longer treatment, longer gestation period, longer time to stay committed to the process, but eventually it removes the disease from the root cause. So in many cases, Ayurveda has actually reversed such conditions, which are chronic long-term ailments.
Okay. So is Ayurveda is a kind of holistic approach towards each individual, or it is a basically general remedy for
No,
the
it's a holistic
particular?
approach. It's a individualistic approach, a holistic approach, but it's also sort of long-term treatments for ailments. I think that's one very important thing. So Ayurveda is not just about medicine, right? Ayurveda prescribes sleep. Ayurveda prescribes yoga. Ayurveda prescribes a healthy lifestyle, healthy eating. All those things put together Ayurveda. So Ayurveda is not just medicines and supplements. It's the science of life.
Okay.
Arjun, I was reading about your company, and I know that you launched your company in 2016. And when I was reading, I found that Dr. Vaidya is a new age Ayurveda company. So what was the initial goal of your company, and how much has it developed and grown now in 2021?
Sure. So look, I think the initial goal to start Dr. Vaidya's was to make Ayurveda appealing and accessible to modern consumers like you, right? There was a little bit of a disconnect between the age-old science and customers like you. And so that's what we started off at. The goal always remained the same, right? From the time we started till the time we exited the business to RP Sanjiv Goenka Group 3 months ago, the goal was largely the same: is take these ancient formulations and repackage and rebrand to modern consumers. I think what we really learned and what we really excelled in was taking it online. We were the first brand to really take Ayurveda deeply online. I think that allowed us to access more customers, allowed Ayurveda to go deeper into India. And that was a huge success for us at Dr. Vaidya's.
Arjun, but Ayurveda is still considered an alternative medical treatment. So what was required to start your own startup in a field which is not so glamorous or popular?
To be honest, I don't really care about glamour or popularity. I know it works and there are enough customers in India who care about it. I think I was reading a stat the other day that 72% of all Indian households use at least one Ayurvedic product. So as much as we want to say in the urban centers in India that look, Ayurveda is not that popular, etc., all of that, if 7 in 10 Indian people are using an Ayurvedic product, then pretty much there are like 800 to 900 million people using this just in this country, right? Now, the challenge is that most of these people use only one Ayurvedic product. How do you get them to use 3, 4, or 5? For me, it was the no-brainer, right? It was my family legacy. I had a duty. I had a promise to my grandfather I had made, and I saw huge potential. And so even though it didn't seem like the sexiest industry to get into, there was work to be done, and I had to do that work.
Arjun, as we all know that evidence-based research is highly needed for global recognition. And for acceptance of Ayurveda, it needs further advancement in the research methodology. So how much are you giving time and capital to the research and development R&D field of Ayurveda particularly? And
there's really good work being done from a ministry perspective as well, grants being created. I think there's an open dialogue between ministry and industry as well. So I think a lot of work is being done in the positive direction. Look at the last 1 year and the amount of work and research that's been done for COVID. There's ashwagandha, giloy, kadha, chawanprash, just huge amount of research and collaboration between ministry, industry, academia, and research happening all together. So I think we've taken the steps in the right direction. I think we're still a long way to go. But the right steps are being taken because genuinely, from a government perspective as well, the government really wants to make Ayurveda global.
That's great. Yes. Arjun, one more question, which is, when I was going through the complete details of your company and you. So what is ultimately your future plan or any business model you want to discuss with us? And any of your goal or next 4 to 5 years, what is your plan?
Look, I think Dr. Vaidya has a long way to go. Dr. Vaidya still has to go global. Dr. Vaidya still has to go offline. There are a lot more products to be launched. For me personally, we sold the business to RP Sanjiv Goenka Group in March.
Right.
So I'm not going to be involved in the day-to-day any longer. But my dream would be, look, Dr. Vaidya's products have proudly Indian written on the front and center of all the packaging, right? If you buy any Dr. Vaidya's product, you'll see it. My dream would be in 5 years to see this product available in 50 countries. That's really sort of taking Ayurveda to the world.
I see. Arjun, I want to know the difference between Ayurveda and allopathy, and I am telling you why. Because as you were saying that in last year there were many, what should I say, information floating around in the social media about Kada and Chyawanprash, and you were saying that for vitamin C you should use amla juice and the vinegar and so on and so forth. So my question is that for different diseases, there are different ways of remedy from both allopathy as well as Ayurveda. And but there is always a conflict between the two, and when homeopathy comes in between, then there is even more conflict between all these three. So what are you doing to in India especially to make people understand that okay, Ayurveda is a long-term holistic approach for getting better, and allopathy is like a simple symptomatic approach to cure something?
Yeah, so I think I think your first question was on what the difference is, and I'll give you a simple example, right? Think about a village, and there's a stream flowing through the village, and in the summer there's no water in the stream, so the villagers are able to cross very easily. But after the monsoon, the stream is full. So there's two ways to cross that stream. Either you create a raft service, and you take the villagers from one side to the other in a raft, or you teach the villagers how to swim and then get them to swim themselves. That's the difference between Ayurveda and allopathy. Allopathy is symptomatic, which is the raft. It allows you to do it without sort of going to the root cause, and Ayurveda is teaching the villager to swim. So if you have a fever, you may have to use a paracetamol to symptomatically bring the fever down. In the long term, you have to build your immunity to prevent the fever. That's largely the difference. So I don't think that Ayurveda and allopathy are actually competing with each other. I think they're different paradigms and can be complementary actually for the betterment of humankind.
As you were saying that for young adults like us here, you have repackaged Ayurveda and made it a brand so that we can buy and get more information. So are you planning to do something new, because now there is social media, to make people aware about your company, your brand, and Ayurveda as a whole? Because I do not know, because for me, I came to know about you when you came in that magazine. When I came to know that, okay, in business world, you are 40 under 40, and from there I was tracking you. So how do you want people to know more about it?
Leverage social media quite actively. We try to be where our customer is and have those conversations. So yeah, I think leveraging social media, leveraging new age ways of communication is really important, and I think that's the only way to get to the modern customer.
And what about your plans when you say that you want to go international with that brand?
As I said, we've sold the business, right? So I'm not involved in the day-to-day, and I'm not going to be running the plans any longer.
Yeah, but what's your expectations from that brand then?
I can't have expectations now. I can't have expectations.
Yeah, probably.
I need to see it global, but I can't have expectations any longer.
I see. And then my next question will be that, as my colleague here asked you about research and development in Ayurveda, so do you think that this has to be a stream or a mainstream thing, or a mainstream subject for young people to get to learn from Ayurveda? Because there are not many people.
It should definitely be much more mainstream, and I think that's a task that all of us have at hand, whether it's customers, industry, government, research, academicians, famous people, celebrities. All of us have to put sort of our efforts together to really make Ayurveda mainstream, to make Ayurveda global, and to educate people about Ayurveda. We still have a very, very low level of education on the specifics of Ayurveda. What is a dosha? What are the relevant herbs? How do you use them? We have a long way to go. So education is critical right now. If everyone can come together, I think one person can't do all the effort. There's a huge amount of education left.
Do you know anything which we do not know that Ayush doing for the for spreading awareness?
Ministry of Ayush has done a lot of work. There have been so many contests that the ministry has run. There have been educational events, creation of Ayurveda Day. Ayurveda Day is, I think, only 3 years old now. International Day of Yoga. Huge amount of initiatives happening, and they'll continue to happen.
I see.
I saw last week, Ministry of Ayush tied up with an app, a short video app called Bolo India, Ayurveda and Yoga. So there's a lot of things happening.
Yeah, Ayurveda is a very ancient science with obviously based on rich literature. And as I was saying that people do not know. So do you know any reason why we have forgotten Ayurveda in the first place?
We've not forgotten Ayurveda. I think like people saying Ayurveda is not popular is total misconception. That's not true at all. 7 in 10 Indian people use Ayurveda. But we have to accept that we were under British rule for a really long time. And so what was perceived as Indian was not perceived as the best, right? And so I think with modernization plus British rule, I think allopathy came to the fore and Ayurveda was put on the back burner for a long time. And so I call 2014 to 2019 the renaissance of Ayurveda. Creation of Ministry of Ayush, government change, Patanjali revolution, hundreds of thousands of customers coming back to Ayurveda. I think 2014 to 2019 was the renaissance. Science came back and got popularity like never got before. And then 2020, with COVID, it was inflection point, and the industry is now, in my opinion at least, completely mainstream. I saw during the pandemic on NDTV, I was watching NDTV, and 3 back-to-back Ayurvedic ads. Ayurvedic oil, Ayurvedic immunity booster, and Chyawanprash, back-to-back. I've never seen in my life 3 back-to-back ads for Ayurvedic products.
What are your thoughts about because as you can see, there are many very much information floating around in social media. Some of it is right, some of it is wrong. But the most prevalent information during the pandemic, especially during COVID-19, was that you have to have that special kadha, which we make. You have to have vitamin C and through the amla and stuff. So what do you recommend people? Which is authentic, and if it comes from you, then it is easier to believe.
From the government, not from brands like us. The government was forthright in saying have these things. I think if the government says that there is some merit and value in it, I think as a customer you need to be responsible and you need to do your own research to ensure buying high quality, genuine products. And so look for an Ayush license number when you buy a product. Look for a genuine manufacturer. Do your research on the products before you buy them. And that's the advice I'd give to customers.
And how does these Ayurveda products tested? Because now everyone knows during pandemic.
Ayurvedic product that is approved by the Ministry of Ayush and by the local FDA does go through some checks and balances before the approval is granted. So as long as you're buying product from a licensed manufacturer and the product itself is licensed, you should be safe.
I understand. So now, as you were telling that you were in Ayurveda because of your family legacy and your own experience and your granddad's experience and now you are also a businessman. So how do you manage between business and science altogether, the Ayurveda science and your business aspect of the same thing?
Hand in hand. Look, at the end of the day, you have to launch high quality products. And only if you launch high quality products do you satisfy customers. And if you satisfy customers, you get sales. So I think business and science, at least for any healthcare business, goes hand in hand. And science is what allows you to create high quality products. And when you create high quality products, you create impact. When you create impact, you get more and more customers interested. So I think they both go hand in hand.
But many times I see that some people, when they become businessmen, big businessmen, they are now more business minded rather than product centric. And then later
good product allows you to have good business. So I don't think they are mutually exclusive.
When you started your this company from scratch, it was a startup at that time. What was your experience during that time? Starting a startup which is in a field which is not, as my colleague said, not so glamorous. So what was your experience and
so
your learnings?
To build a startup, it's a roller coaster, right? So you start from zero. You have to build a brand from scratch, team from scratch. You face a lot of failure, and you have to fight that failure with grit and resilience and sort of come up every day. We tried to launch offline first, failed miserably, and pivoted to online first. Took a while to learn online. Took more than 2 years to get to 50 orders a day on our website. But I think through all the learnings, we were able to build a strong brand, strong customer, strong product, and leadership status. And once we got to 50 orders a day, we believed that we had arrived, and there was time to scale that exponentially. And the rest is history, right? 50 to 5,000 orders a day, 1.5 million customers, 80 plus products launched across 16,500 pin codes in India. So I think it was an amazing experience because you start from zero, you start from telling the first few customers that this makes sense, and then eventually go to a point where I was wearing a Dr. Vaidya's t-shirt at an airport and someone recognized the brand and said, "Are you from this brand? I really like your products." So it's a beautiful journey. A lot of trials, tribulations, failures along the way, but I think eventually to be able to look back now on the last 4.5 years and see the brand we've built, I think I wouldn't have had it any other way.
What was the best learning from that experience of starting your own company? And what,
right? Learn from failures with grit and resilience and fight back. Two, you can't do it without a team. You can't do it alone. Young entrepreneurs try to do everything themselves. I was one of those. Realized very quickly I can't do everything on my own. And the third is entrepreneurship is full-time job. You can't have entrepreneurship as a side hustle. You can, a side hustle is a hobby or a lifestyle business. If you want to build something really scalable, you can't be half in and half out.
And as a podcaster, what is your aim when you say that you are a podcaster? What is your aim for people to know from your podcast? What is its
Spread
niche?
knowledge about my industry, which is direct to consumer, FMCG consumer products. I think through my podcast, I want young entrepreneurs, prospective entrepreneurs, people who want to learn about the space to get the relevant information they need to start or learn something. That's my goal.
And what's your experience that do young people come to ask you for a job or ask your company for a job out of interest and not just for getting job?
Yeah, I think the job market has changed significantly, right? So the days are gone when people just do work to do work. People now want to do work to enjoy the work they're doing. And so I believe that when someone comes to you for a job, it's a two-way selling process. The person has to sell themselves, but you also have to sell your vision. And only if both align is it really a meeting of minds.
When you were talking about vision, and my also colleague also asked that what is your future plans? So since you are saying that everything in your mind right now is of Ayurveda, how to make it more public and more people know more information about it. So and I am just thinking that why when I always think of Ayurveda, it has to be said that it goes hand in hand. Why Ayurveda is not yet part of our daily life, and what is your future plans to make it part of our daily
It's our
life?
responsibility to make it part of your daily life. Now it's part of my daily life, so now I have to work even harder to make it part of your daily life.
What do you mean when you say that it's part of your daily life? How do you what is exactly you are
Wake up in the
following?
morning, I have Chyawanprash in capsule form, immunity energy booster. I have allergy medicine. I use our shampoo. I brush my teeth with a tooth powder instead of a toothpaste. I use our hangover product when I drink. I use 5 to 6 products on a daily basis. It's part of my daily life.
Arjun, you have already lived in US, and I think in Western world, Ayurveda is more famous or is getting more and more
These are
popular.
all perceptions that you have, yeah.
But
7 out of 10 Indians use Ayurvedic products. That's 800 million Indians using Ayurvedic products. Yes, there is traction in US, in UK, in Germany, but look, I mean, that's all like grass is greener, right? We have a long way to go in India. We have an even longer way to go abroad. India exports 120 to 130 million dollars of Ayurvedic products every year. That's smaller than the size of one mid-size Ayurvedic brand. So the whole industry put together only exports so much. We have a long way to go in terms of exports.
Arjun,
But
as you told that
the signs are positive, and I think there is adoption in certain global markets. We have a long way to go.
Arjun, you told that when the new government came in 2014, so many new developments are happening in the field of Ayurveda. So what do you think, which further required to spread this Ayurveda in the each home or each house of the country?
Yeah, as I said earlier, it's a joint effort between ministry, industry, stakeholders like you, researchers, academicians, famous people, influencers using their influence. I think all of us have to come together to spread knowledge that goes deep into our country first and start in India. Once we start in India and we spread in India, and we as a country of 1.3 billion people believe in it, it's very easy to reach 7 billion people then, because you have 1/5 of the world or 1/6 of the world already fully entrenched and believe in the science. So we have some work to do. But look, we've made progress in the last 5 years like we've never made in independent India. So signs are bright and looking up.
But right now in some news channel also, I'm seeing the fight between the some allopathic companies and particularly what suggestions are coming from the government side. So what is your comment on that particular arguments, I can say?
I don't really have any comment, to be honest. I'm a very biased person. I've grown up with Ayurveda. My family's been in Ayurveda for a very long time. So I support the science as much as I can. I mean, there will always be conflict and always be fights. I think we just got to figure out a way to work together.
Varun?
Yeah, I want to ask that these raw materials for all these Ayurvedic medicines, where do you get it? Is it all from India only? And how does it happen? Is it through farmers, or you have to make your own farms for it, the basic raw material?
Yeah, so you'll appreciate that the products we use are like amla, taj, lavang, ilaichi, kesar, jaifal, javantri, haldi. It's all stuff we find in our home as well. So we get it largely from India, across the country. From Kashmir to Kanyakumari, we have supply chains, and we buy the herbs from the best places that you get those herbs. Yeah, you go to the source to get the best quality of herbs, but there is standardization in quality that we use. And yeah, you have to go to the source and get the produce. But I think the great part is that we're using really stuff that we understand already, right? All of these things are already used in our kitchen. So it's so much part of our life that's just now knowledge that needs to be spread even further. You're using it in your kitchen and you use it every day. So it's not something new and unique for you. It's part of your life already.
I see.
Yeah, well, as you mentioned that most of the herbs is a part of Indian kitchen. Like we every day, some jaffar, lychee, all these things we use directly or indirectly. So when there's some product comes, Ayurveda product in form of capsule and like tablet or anything else, there will be always questions from the people. Anyway, we are already using these products. So how do you convince people that these products should be used? What is the way forward for this?
Do you have vitamin C? Like effervescent tablets or capsules of vitamin C? Vitamin C is there in oranges. Vitamin C is there in lemon. So why do we have vitamin C supplements? The same thing, right? I can have everything available in nature's bounty, but if I need some more, I may have to have a more concentrated, supplemented form. That's the way to convince the customer, to be honest. Customers view Ayurveda differently from the way they view Western medicine, and that's a change we have to bring about. I think it's actually good that it's available in our kitchens because we then relate to it much better, right?
Exactly.
So I think, look, capsules, tablets, these are just new age forms and easier formats to consume powders. But pretty much the product inside is the same thing.
Arjun, my question is that as you were saying that we have everything available in the kitchen and we can just have use Ayurveda as our own supplements, but there is one more thing, or I hope it's misconception that people like me have, is that Ayurveda is all about plants and herbs and everything, and for making it as a product like a pill or a capsule, you have to put preservatives in it because allopathic medicines are all made up of chemicals, hard solid chemicals. So how do you tackle the problem of not using preservatives in Ayurveda medicines?
Look, I think there is. I think it's very unfair the way people view Ayurveda, right? You'll have a preservative or an excipient or a capsule format in allopathic medicine, but you want an Ayurvedic medicine. There has to be some things done for stability of products and formulations. These are all done as per stipulated rules and guidelines given by the same authority that makes those guidelines for pharma. If you want to have ashwagandha raw or you want to have amla raw, you can go ahead and have it raw. You don't need to have the capsule. But if you want to have easier format, you may have to have it in a capsule, and to be able to give you that delivery format, you may have to put some excipients. I won't call them preservatives, I call them excipients, to keep the product stable. But if you want to have it raw, like go ahead and have it raw, no problem. You can have amla raw, and that's the best way to have it.
And one last thing I want to ask you, that as my colleague also said, that this government and everything, so the Ministry of Ayush, how frequently are you in contact with them? I mean, apart from getting approvals, the new research.
They're very forthright, proactive, in contact with industry. They form core Ayurveda committees with bodies like CII, with bodies like Ayurvedic Drug Manufacturers Association. So they're constantly in contact and generally collaborative in the way they want to work with us.
I see. Anything else you want to tell us about Ayurveda, which normal people like me do not know anything about, and that will make us more jagruk in that sense?
Even you can suggest any book to the normal people of the India, so that
everyday Ayurveda that I read when I was thinking of starting Dr. Vaidya's. But I think there's a lot of information available online, and a lot of information being put out by companies and the ministry as well. And I think that for us as people, we just have to keep our mind open and our eyes and ears open, and look at everything with the right amount of research. That's all.
See, so as I was saying earlier, that you are also a businessman, and you are doing so much of work in the field of Ayurveda. So how do you tackle both these things? I mean, we are also working people here, so I want to know from successful people like you that how you tackle science, work, house, your life in general, leisure, everything. So how is your work-life balance? How do you maintain it?
I think for me, I was really committed to building what I was building, and so I didn't have as much work-life balance. I stopped working on Sundays pretty late on into my company, but I think that it's really important to give your mind a rest and a break. Having said that, as an entrepreneur, you have a larger goal and you got to keep working really hard towards it. So I think it's a combination of being able to manage your ambition and goals with your personal well-being. I think that's really important. And there's a lot of conversations now around mental health of entrepreneurs, which is really nice because it is tough. It's a roller coaster journey. You face highs of success and lows of failure a lot.
It's interesting you talked about mental health. Do Ayurveda also have remedies for mental health? Because nowadays depression is like more prevalent because of lockdowns and stress.
Ayurveda, Brahmi, Shankavali, Shankpushpi, all used to calm the mind. So there are products available.
And you are also making all those products to that brand, and you want to. I see. That's great. I mean, people should, normal people like me should know more about you and doctor, because everyone knows Dr. Vaidya, but what the man behind it actually did, I mean, it's very beautiful to know, and we are very happy.
Pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. It's been an amazing conversation, and thank you for doing what you're doing for the community and spreading knowledge. I think it's an amazing initiative.
Thank you very much. So
no, thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Okay, then I think we should close that podcast now. And please like, share, and subscribe our channel. And bye-bye.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.